Hey guys, Comic Boom here to review Justice League issue 39. This is it, Justice Doom War Finale, written by Scott Snyder. There's multiple artists on this one, Jorge Jimenez, Daniel Champierre, Juan Alberon, and Alejandro Sanchez, and Hi-Fi on the colors, and Tom Napolitano on the letters. Wow! I just got, you know what, this long, 39 issues long, this JL epic dealing with the Battle of Perpetua, so rewriting the rules, rewriting the history of the DC multiverse. There's a lot that's been going on here, man. A lot's been going on, and this is it, the big finale. And I just want to give you a heads up, this is definitely a spoiler-ridden review, so if you don't want me to tell spoilers, guys, just shut it off. I always give spoiler reviews. But anyways, on 3, 2, 1, here we go. The bad guys win. I'm gonna be quoting from Scott Snyder directly because Scott Snyder's a stand-up guy. He's a class act. Let me tell you. I was critical on Twitter. I said that I was very disappointed with issue 39. I said so on Twitter, and he direct messaged me, and he was a super nice guy, and he explained to me his reasoning a bit, and he respectfully disagreed, and as I respectfully disagreed with him in terms of the interpretation and what he was going for. And I'm gonna read you some of the things he wrote. He's a stand-up guy, and I think it's important to try to get into the head of Scott Snyder to try to appreciate where he was coming from when he wrote Justice League 39. It ends really on a huge cliffhanger because the Justice League loses. It ends with them running into a bright white light, having been defeated by Perpetua, rescued by the Quintessence, which were last seen in issue 1, consisting of the Guardian and the Spectre and a couple of other characters. I mean, it's been a long time since I've seen some of these characters. Hera and the Monitor, I think. In any event, they disappear into this white light. Bad guys have won. Perpetua has won. Doom has essentially now complete control of the universe. And yeah, that's it. So 39 issues of Justice League, and the bad guys won, and the good guys lose. And this is, for me, this is a phenomenal letdown. And I want to give you my initial impressions, and then when I give you my initial impressions, and they're going to be harsh here, I'm not going to lie, I'm then going to read you the defense. I'm going to read to you Scott Snyder's comments to me, because I think that I'm going to try to see things from his point of view. But before I do that, I want to give my own review of issue 39. Because last issue had Martian Manhunter be resurrected from... Martian Manhunter was dead, and then he became resurrected because he was part of Lex Luthor. Apex Lex sort of absorbed Martian Manhunter. Martian Manhunter, long story short, he was released. He managed to escape last issue. And in the beginning of this issue, he is now connecting the minds of all the members of the Justice League. And he's sort of reading the minds and connecting all the minds of the citizens of the DCU, on Prime Earth, Earth Prime, or Prime Earth, whatever. And, the tally is adding up. And there's a lot of exposition here by Scott Snyder. A lot of exposition talking about hope and fear and... I gotta tell you, I'm gonna put it this way. A lot of philosophical meanderings in here about hope and faith and fear and having courage in the face of adversity. And it's not enough. The good guys lose. Batman says in this issue that we lost the vote. We lost the vote. So it comes down to a vote. We lost the vote. Batman says that we lost the vote. More people sided with Doom than sided with Justice. And therefore they lost the vote, and therefore they were defeated. Perpetua won. Now, we don't know what that means, that Perpetua won. What is odd here is that Perpetua wins, but what does that mean? Because in previous issues, Perpetua already destroyed, was it 2 worlds already? She destroyed one Earth. She destroyed the Gotham by Gaslight Earth, and the Gotham by Gaslight Earth was a world that sided with Justice. It was one that just never had heroes to defend it, so it was easily destroyed by Perpetua. Perpetua was angry with it because it wasn't going to embrace her. It basically rejected Perpetua. So the Gotham by Gaslight world, which was a 19th century world with 19th century ideals, which presumably are more cynical probably than ours, or is it? It was destroyed. So even though the Gotham by Gaslight Earth, whatever that was, I can't remember the Earth 29, whatever it was, that apparently sided with justice, and it was destroyed anyway. So does the vote even matter? It's a question I have. Here in this issue, the tallies added up, and at first everyone sides with justice, and then the final vote is made, and most people on the planet don't have enough faith in the Justice League that the Justice League will win. Wonder Woman says that's because everybody is fearful, and they're letting their fear govern. They're afraid of the outcome, and despite the heroics of the Justice League, it's not enough to inspire justice or feelings of hope for the citizens, for the citizens of the DC universe, and therefore Perpetua wins. Now, when Perpetua wins, does she destroy the Earth? No. Why not? She destroyed the Gotham by Gaslight Earth. Why doesn't she destroy this one? It defied her. Oh, no, it didn't. It voted for her, right? That's right. So Perpetua doesn't destroy this Earth because the citizens of the DC universe embrace evil. They embrace the failure of character. They embrace the lowest common denominator. They abandon rebirth. They abandon hope. They abandon it. And there's even an explanation as to why. Because Scott Snyder references, there's a panel here that shows things. It references Leviathan. So due to the events of Leviathan, Doomsday Clock, the events going on in the Terrifics, and due to the events going on in Young Justice with Naomi, apparently, the combination of all those events and other events have thrown the universe and multiverse into a little bit of a disarray, making it more vulnerable for Doom, or more likely for Doom to win. That's the implication here. It says, I don't know who's in the blue ink. I don't know or the Guardian is talking, the quintessence after they rescue the Justice League. The Guardian says to them, "You fought valiantly, but the darkness that overcame the universe, the lack of faith Perpetua thrived on and used to win, it crept in on many fronts. The Leviathan front, the Doomsday Clock front. There's this front. We think it's the Terrifics. I think that's Bizarro. We're not really sure. Again, lack of explanation, lack of clarity. And then, of course, the Guardian goes on and says, events that unfolded outside your purview, some disconnected from your reality altogether, but still deeply felt and impactful. So apparently Doomsday Clock was outside the reality. So Doomsday Clock wasn't part of the DC universe. We thought it was. So Superman asks, what are you saying? Or is it Batman? Superman asks, what are you saying, Guardian? Well, he says, we're saying that even if you'd won, even if Justice had won the vote, she would have returned. Perpetua would have returned, carried on the loss of faith the people of Earth feel over the rise of evil in the universe, the lack of connection between the good. So there's a lack of connection. So everyone in the DCU, they don't feel connected. They don't feel that they have a bond anymore. They feel depressed. They're upset. And that's the way they feel. And it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter if they'd won. Now think about that. Think of what Scott Snyder has basically written here. This whole thing from the very beginning, from issue 1, has been Doom versus Justice. And we get to the final issue, 39, and we're told that it wouldn't even matter who'd won. Well, wouldn't matter. Because people are so cynical that inevitably Perpetua would return and people would choose Doom. All right, and that's it. That's it, and that's exactly what happened. So I gotta tell you, as a reader, I am profoundly disappointed, because what was the point of this narrative? If nothing matters, then what's the point of the story? If nobody is special, what's the point of the story? If heroes can't inspire greatness, what's the point of the story? Why would you want to write a 39-issue Justice League epic and have the greatest heroes in the DC universe inspire Doom? Why would you want them to fail? This is an epic fail. Epic. It doesn't get more epic a failure than this. Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Aquaman, Flash, Green Lantern, all of them. Mira, all of them. Starman, World Forger, Monitor, all of them failed. Epic fail. And apparently it all comes down to the citizens of this one prime Earth. So that's it. That's what the message is. This is so disappointing and so depressing, and then it ends with the Justice League having a conversation with the quintessence, and this is what they conclude. At one point here, Batman says, listen to me. Perpetua's great lie is that we each matter alone. The truth is we matter by making every life matter, honoring every story. So that's how we fight. That's how we fight Perpetua. We make everything matter. Well said. All right then. So one last time, one last fight for everything, says Wonder Woman, and they run into the light. And that's the end of the story. So my problem is I don't know what that means. So let's fight. Let's make everything matter. What does that mean? I mean, how does that translate into tactics? Okay, so let's make everything matter. Isn't that what you were doing since, I don't know, since you were created? Isn't that what all heroes do? You make everything matter because you fight bad guy, you fight crime? Isn't that what's been going on? The primary criticism here of this narrative is that it's too esoteric, it's too wishy-washy, and it's philosophical meanderings that indicate absolutely nothing of substance, and this story fails epically, as the heroes do. I mean, it's appropriate that the story fails, because the heroes fail. And there's no message here. The message here is that strive, do your best, and hope. Do whatever you can, and remember, all it takes is for you to be outvoted for the world to lose. That your hope, it doesn't matter how much of an avatar you are. You could be Christ-like, you could be Buddha, you could be religious, you could be avatar-like, and you could have a hope. But your hope isn't enough to save anybody, because it just takes two people to feel hopeless. You're outvoted, you lose. In the immortal words of Batman in this comic, we lost the vote. Thank you, Batman. Didn't exactly prepare for losing, did you, Batman? Incidentally, how do you vote? I'd like to know who does the voting here. Who did the actual voting, right? It's funny. Batman says we lost the vote, all right? So who is voting? Who is counting the votes? Okay, this is a doom vote and this is a justice vote, all right? So how do you know it's a doom vote versus a justice vote? Let me give you an example with what I mean here, because this is very important. Because I know one of Scott Snyder's points is that we live in a toxic age where people are very cynical and they can lose hope. Okay, well let me give you an example of doom versus hope, and you tell me whether it's doom or not. All right? Because I would like to, because this is important, and I'm going to use the Trump impeachment trial for a second. Okay, now. Some people love Trump, some don't. All right. So if Trump gets impeached, if President Trump gets impeached, do you feel that will be and that makes you happy? Is that a doom vote or a justice vote? You're going to feel that's justice if you don't like Trump. If you think that the deep state is against Trump and Trump is impeached, you're going to think that's a vote for doom, right? You're going to feel hopeless. So you can have the very same event engendering hope or doom, justice or doom. It depends on your interpretation. So who decides what's justice? Who decides what's doom? I mean, if you're going to create philosophical meanderings and try to sound, and all this, what I view as it's so much pretension in here, self-pretension. Well, let's get right into it then. What's doom and what's justice? You know, this is what doesn't work here. How do you know if it's doom or justice? How do you know people are feeling doom? How do you know they're feeling justice? Indecision is not hopelessness. Feeling down does not mean it's hopeless. Just because people feel helpless doesn't mean they don't have hope. I mean, we live in Scott Snyder is so cynical right now. He's so cynical right now that it's infected his comic book writing. And he actually thinks that a world that is helpless will feel hopeless and would choose doom just because they had a couple of bad days. Like, it just boggles my mind. But I want to read Scott Snyder's defense here. It's important to read it here. Scott Snyder said, he direct messaged me, and he said, really sorry I let you down. For me, I needed a bigger stage to finish the story, and the truth is, that part of the story is over, and they lost. I feel as though people right now in this world would choose their worst impulses over their better ones, and that tragedy should be felt and have impact. Okay. All right. Fair enough. So he feels, The world right now, he feels, would choose their worst impulses over their better ones. And that tragedy should be felt and have impact. Okay, so I thought that this was more than just about choosing one's impulses. I thought this was about choosing good over evil. But now apparently it's about choosing their impulses over their better ones. Impulses can change in a heartbeat. So then we get into the problem is, when are you measuring the vote? When are you measuring the impulse? Are you going to measure the impulse when I'm happy and drinking Corona, like I was 5 minutes ago? Or are you going to measure my impulse right now when I'm reviewing Justice League? You might get a Doom versus Justice disparity there. You know what I mean? But in any event, I'll go on. He says, I understand nothing is for everybody, though, and I appreciate you picking it up either way. So look, he's a stand-up guy, and he's defending himself. I feel as though people right now in this world would choose their worst impulses over their better ones, and that tragedy should be felt and have impact. Okay, so clearly the people in defense of Scott Snyder, he's saying that the citizens of the DC universe feel so low, and that their worst impulses, they're embracing their worst impulses because of the relentless onslaught of Leviathan. You know, that guy that was defeated by Batgirl and killed Sam Lane? That guy? Wow. Okay, that guy, right. The onslaught of Leviathan. The onslaught of Doomsday Clock, which isn't even part of the universe, somehow has an impact on this one. I don't know. The impact of Young Justice, who, for the last 12 issues of their series, weren't even in this universe. They were in other universes. But hey, the impact of Naomi. Oh my God. All these things. The impact of Bizarro in the pages of Terrifics. That has created this people to choose their worst impulses. This year of the villain, people are choosing their worst impulses. No, people when they're citizens of the DC universe, they're just tired of fighting bad guys. So instead of fighting bad guys now, we are to believe they're just embracing their worst impulses and said, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to become a bad guy too. I don't want to be neighborly anymore. I don't want to be a nice guy anymore. I don't want to love my children anymore. I don't want to embrace friendships anymore. I don't want to do any of that. I'm suddenly a completely different person, and my impulse right now is to embrace doom. That's what we are to believe. So that's the big impact. That's the impact. That's something that should have impact. The problem is that, I submit, it does not fly, it does not work, and it reflects, in my view, a misunderstanding of humanity at heart. Fundamental misunderstanding of the nature of humanity, the nature of good v evil, the nature of impulses. It just doesn't work. It doesn't fly. And in any event, that's not what the narrative suggests something otherwise anyway, because we already had justice win and it meant nothing. And Perpetua still destroyed the planet. So Perpetua was still more powerful even when Justice won, because she destroyed the Gotham by Gaslight world. And that was a world that wanted to reject her. But it had no impact. But it goes on. I said to Snyder, in response to him, I said, I appreciate that you obviously feel that way, particularly in the midst of a real-world culture war, impeachment saga, social issues, etc., etc. But no one is a villain in their own mind or own worldview. The mythology of heroism is that one person can make a difference. Your story makes the exact opposite conclusion. You make it all about a simple vote. So if there are two bad guys in a room and only one good guy, the good guy loses? When good wins, it matters because it always involves overcoming the odds. You have rendered the odds irrelevant. It is now simple math. You have made good and evil a numbers game where hope is a useless endeavor that is overcome simply by adding a few people to the hopeless. Readers have literally been crying for years to get some hope in Rebirth, and we get the exact opposite. I guess I can only hope that Metal 2 will restore some justice. Now, that was my response. He gave me a further response, and he says, I disagree with you. He says, the heroes remain hopeful in our beacon of hope. The heroes remain hopeful in our beacon of hope. That doesn't mean that people around them are always hopeful. So the Justice League are hopeful, the people around them are not. To make the heroes less hopeful, in his view, is a betrayal. Not to make people around them less helpful. So basically, the people around them aren't helping out the Justice League. The Justice League are filled with hope. The people are filled with hope. The people around them feel helpless, and no matter what the Justice League do, they can't change what's in the hearts and minds of people. Another way to put that, as I would put that, is the Justice League has failed to inspire. They're not good enough. The icons of the DC Universe, epic fail. Epic fail. They're not good enough. And he goes on, he says, it's not about being bad or good. It's about understanding that you're putting your own interests above the interests of other people. Being good in this equation is taking a leap of faith that caring about a collective beyond your own interests will help everyone. That's a scary proposition, and one that not everyone, including myself, is always capable of. I don't think that's a simple good and evil equation. So he's talking about, he said, being good in this equation is taking a leap of faith that caring about a collective beyond your own interests will help everyone. And so people are selfish. The citizens of the DC universe, despite watching their heroes fight, they've all become selfish. They don't want to be neighborly. They don't want to help each other out. Or at least if they do, they're outvoted. The majority of them do not, because they lose the vote. Most people don't want to help each other anymore. They're selfish. It's sort of like Sodom and Gomorrah. It's like they're like Sodom and Gomorrah. There's very, very few good people. And the vote was maybe close, 51-49, but the fact is the popular vote was won by doom. The popular vote was won by doom. I mean, this is worse than, this is like the U.S. election. It's even Donald Trump. I mean, Donald Trump won. He won. Donald Trump never won the popular vote, did he? He won because there was other rules. He lost the popular vote. But Perpetua wins the popular vote. She wins the popular vote. And she gave a perfect speech. Perfect speech. Beautiful. Trump would love it. Perpetua gave a fantastic speech. Gave a beautiful speech. Perfect speech. Perfect in every way. And she won the popular vote. That's something that even Trump couldn't do. But hey, I don't want to suggest that Trump is doomed. He's justice. It might as well be justice because according to Scott Snyder, it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter whether justice win or dooms win. It doesn't matter because eventually Perpetua is going to come back and win anyway. It just doesn't matter. Nothing has any consequence whatsoever. And I say it again, when nothing matters, when you're fighting for everything, you're fighting for nothing. When everyone's special, no one is special. That's reality. And that's what I find astonishing about this. This is supposed to be a superhero comic about the most iconic heroes of the DC universe. And they're fighting for a world that has chosen not to believe them anymore for no reason whatsoever. That's the sad part. Why are they choosing not to believe them? Because of Leviathan. Because of Doomsday Clock, because of things that they are technically not even aware of having happened. Scott Snyder goes on to say that, he says, the more frightening things get, the more people are tempted to lean into their protective interests. It's not just about human nature in a vacuum. It's about whether or not we remain hopeful when faced with terrible odds. And I think it's okay in a story, he says, if we don't always live up to our heroes. Much as I hope we will. Either way, I appreciate your passion. Thanks for checking out the books. All right, so, well, thank you, Scott Snyder, for responding. And, the line there that I think is interesting is he says that it's not just about human nature in a vacuum. It's about whether or not we remain hopeful when faced with terrible odds. We don't always live up to our heroes, much as I hope we will. So I guess that the angle he was coming from, which I missed, and I didn't think this issue did a very good job of it, to be blunt. I never saw this from the angle that the citizens of the DC universe somehow failed to live up to their heroes. Are they inspired by their heroes? Apparently not enough. And if you're not inspired by heroes, then what does that say about the heroes? Guess they're not good enough. But no, we can't say that about Justice League. Scott Snyder is saying here that the Justice League is awesome. They have hope, and they're going to fight and give their lives for the citizens of Earth. They'll absolutely do that. But it's not enough that the citizens of Earth, sometimes, no matter how great the hero, we fail to live up to our idols. We fail to live up to our heroes. And if we fail to live up to our heroes, it's going to happen from time to time, and it's tragic, and that's the story that he wanted to tell. And that's the story he told. He has told a story of the citizens of the DC Universe failing to be inspired by our heroes, at least the majority of them, because they lost the vote. And that's what I find so disappointing, because, you know, I always thought of myself that the citizens of the DC Universe, I imagine myself as a citizen of the DC Universe. I've been following this series from issue 1, expecting that justice would win. In fact, I would ask Scott Snyder if he actually believes that there's been a single reader that would ever choose doom over justice, that was expecting that doom would win. Is there a single reader? I mean, because we are talking about readership here. And I realize there's this nonsense about, well, some writers have this idea that, I don't write stories that people want. I write what they need. Maybe that's it, because I'm getting some sense of, some pretension here, and I say that respectfully, that you're writing a story where you've had a loyal fan base that have stuck with the storyline for 39 issues, and at the end, we are told that the citizens of the DC Universe, the citizens that are really, they're the characters that are analogs for us, the reader. We are now told that our analogs, it is suggested that because things are so cynical in our world, we would choose doom too. That is really what it's saying, because this is supposed to be reflective of our world, that heroes aren't enough to inspire, that even our greatest heroes, sometimes what they inspire in us isn't enough. Sometimes they fail. Sometimes we let our fears get the best of us. I get it. But at the end of the day, to be absolutely clear here, the moral of this, the central thrust of this just 39 issue Justice League tale, is that there is no hope. There is no rebirth. Jeff Johns, flip you the bird. This is Scott Snyder's statement that this is what he thinks of the citizens of the DC Universe. This is the story he wanted to tell. This was very, very important to make very, very clear to everyone reading this, that doom wins, that your hope isn't enough, that you're cynical, that our world is so cynical. And the fact that you might feel stress and anger at work, and you're upset, and you feel unneighborly from time to time, that means that you would definitely choose doom. Yeah. You have no way of knowing how to cope with a bad day. No. You can't do that. Snyder's interpretation is that if you're having a bad day, you choose doom. Simple as that. I say no. I have a bad day, I still choose justice. I still say that if I'm going to be a jerk to 3 people today, I can still be a nice guy to the next one. It's not that black and white. Snyder has made it black and white. He's brought morality down to a simple vote. He's brought judgment on humanity, and judgment ultimately on us, the comic book reader, down to a simple vote. It's as simple as that. And I might say, it's the first time that I can remember where it's not the first time that the good guys have lost. I mean, I remember Final Crisis, where the good guys lost initially to Darkseid, and they embraced the anti-life equation. But I also remember how they overcame the anti-life equation, how they defeated Darkseid. With the anti-life equation in Final Crisis, it was an equation. Their will was taken from them by way of an equation. It wasn't a choice. Anti-life was forced upon them. Scott Snyder does one better, even on Morrison. He's saying that the people choose doom for no reason other than the fact that they're embracing their dark side. They got no excuses. They simply choose doom. Why? Because they choose to. They're not forced. They're not pushed. They choose doom. They chose doom willfully. Willfully. Because they saw Leviathan Apparently, or because Naomi showed up. Apparently, if you believe this nonsense, I don't. This is because of Doomsday Clock, which took place in another multiverse. I don't know. They chose it willingly, and that the Justice League have lost. They're now fighting for a planet of people that no longer care, and apparently, this is supposed to be symbolic of us. You think that in our world, cynical though it might be, that we would choose doom? We see very different worlds, Mr. Snyder. Very, very different worlds. And let me tell you something. I had hoped that the point of this would be inspire the readers. Make us feel good. You don't even have to give us a happy ending, but maybe, just maybe, give the heroes a happy ending? You gave them failure. You gave them... you insulted the citizens of the DCU. You dumbed it down to a vote. And for what? Now we're leading into something called Metal 2, where if you saw this, the screenplay or the screenshot of Wonder Woman holding an Amazon fishing rod. Metal 2 is apparently going to center around the spiritual elements of metal, and it's going to center around Wonder Woman. I'm actually curious about it. I'm extremely cynical about that. I can't tell you enough. I can't tell you enough how disappointed I am with this. I feel like I had my heart ripped out from under me. I'm going to give an example of Tom King's Batman. I thought Tom King's long narrative on Batman, those of you, you know I feel this way, who watch my videos, Tom King's narrative on Batman was a terribly long narrative and it didn't work. But at least Tom King, DC had to fire him to get him to do it, and they forced him to wrap things up. But at least when he wrapped it up, he created a happy ending. He sort of restored the status quo, and he put lipstick on the pig. This is taking a great story and saying, screw it, I'm going to make it a pig. This is like removing all the lipstick and saying, screw it, we're just going to leave you guys with the pig. That's what this is. This is no lipstick, all pig. I'm sorry, but this is awful. I disagree with most of what Scott Snyder said in terms of its applicability to this storyline. It doesn't add up. Now, there's more. Specifically, there's things that really don't make any sense. When the Justice League, I'm not even sure how Perpetua, at some point, the Perpetua determines that she's won the vote, and then just before, I guess Perpetua apparently, it's said, it's not shown, it's said that she has sent all the Justice Society and all the other heroes from different time periods. Perpetua sent them back to their own time. Why would she do that? Why wouldn't she kill them? This is never explained. Why didn't she wipe out Earth? This is never explained. Martian Manhunter is reborn. How? Why? This is not explained. The Quintessence scoops the Justice League out, saving them from Perpetua. They end up in a place that is never explained. And somehow they end up in a place where they're wearing black spandex. So, why are they wearing black spandex? Why aren't they wearing their costumes? Did the artists get lazy? Like I'm saying, this is comical. This is so dumb. Why are they wearing black spandex? And why are they on the moon? I guess the Quintessence did that, and then suddenly the Quintessence send them back to Earth, but Perpetua's already won, so you're sending them back to be killed because they can easily be killed now. Perpetua won. Why wouldn't Perpetua kill them? Perpetua talked about reworking the multiverse in her image, so isn't she going to do that? And if you're going to send them back, I guess you're going to send them back in their correct clothing and you get rid of the black spandex. It's difficult for me to underscore just how genuinely I have to be diplomatic. I'm just going to say that this story doesn't work. I can't recommend this story. I have to give this story-wise as an ending this is lower than Tom King's ending for Batman. It is. It's below that, because Tom King at least put lipstick on the pig. This is a slap in the face to Justice League fans. Absolute slap in the face. I feel betrayed. And nothing Scott Snyder told me has made me change my mind on that. And it's really sad. And now we're going to go into Metal 2, and what? We're going to get the Batman Who Laughs again? I'm so sick of the Batman Who Laughs. And, and then it's not going to end on a hopeful note. Because, good God, I just, bear in mind where this ended up. Bear in mind that after this, we end up going to the Batman and Superman series by Williamson. Terrible. Where that ends on that doesn't even go anywhere. Where the Batman Who Laughs ends with, that doesn't end. There's no ending. You still got the Secret Six. They're all infected, and other heroes in the universe are infected. So you got infected heroes, and no ending there. Depressing, miserable. And you got, then we're going to be getting into Hell Arisen. Well, Hell Arisen is Apex Lex versus Batman Who Laughs. Well, okay, then now so Perpetua's won. She controls Apex Lex, and now he's going to battle a Batman Who Laughs. So what's the point of? The bad guys won. Why aren't the Justice League killed? Why doesn't Perpetua kill them? She can do it. She can destroy the whole world. Why doesn't she kill them? This doesn't make any sense. And now we're supposed to sit back and enjoy Robert Venditti's Justice League number 41, where it's going to be a completely different storyline and proceed as if nothing happened, as if somehow the Justice League shouldn't already be dead, because they should be dead. Doesn't make any sense. Oh my God. Anyways, narratively, I got to give this a 2 out of 10. This is probably the lowest score I'm giving a Justice League comic that I've ever, since I started reviewing. And I think I've reviewed almost all 39 issues of Justice League under Snyder. This is very disappointing. Thanks, Scott Snyder, for responding to me. I guess you want to remind people that, the bad guys lose, and you've done a good job of reminding us that it's a shitty world we live in. Everybody's depressed. It's cynical, and it doesn't matter if you have heroes to fight for you. Nobody's going to be inspired, and you're still going to lose. And it doesn't matter even if justice wins. It doesn't matter even if you win the vote for justice. We're still going to lose because bad people are going to come back, and we're destined to lose. We're destined for failure. Thank you for Scott Snyder. Thank you for reminding us thank you for reminding us that we're all failures, and that it doesn't matter what we think, and that hope doesn't matter. Thank you for reminding us of that, and thank you for reminding us that, making it absolutely clear that you hate Rebirth, that you hate hope, and that you don't want it to be in the comic books. Thank you for telling us that, and making it abundantly clear how much you think the Justice League matter. They don't. Because in the immortal words of Batman, again, we lost the vote. Comic Boom out.